Well, hi, and welcome to another session of Uncommon Knowledge for Seniors. Today we have Lorraine Schechter. She's a mobile notary, and it sounds like a simple thing, but man, it sure isn't. I've had a long conversation with her about what that entails and what's involved and some of the misconceptions and things like that. But Lorraine, thanks for being here today. Appreciate you being here and part of this whole thing. And what got you started in this? How'd you find mobile notary?
Well, Jim, thanks for inviting me. This is great.
More
I
than
was an escrow officer for just shy of 20 years, and then moved into as a financial assistant and so on. And especially for escrow, I needed to have a notary commission, and then kept my commission while I was doing the other because apparently or obviously we had a few people coming in now and then and needed something notarized. And at one point, I decided I no longer wanted to work for anybody else again. It was time. I had paid my dues. And somehow through the notary world, found out about the mobile notary and started doing that. And I think that it's something that I find that I love more and more every year. It keeps getting better and better.
Well, that's great. What do you like? The adventure and the getting out and being out in the world and that kind of thing instead of being behind a desk, I would imagine, huh?
Oh, there's so many things to like about it.
Yeah,
Yes,
good.
the people are number one, and that's what really keeps me going. And I have friends who ask me, why I haven't retired yet, and I don't want to retire. I love the people that I'm meeting. I love my notary community. We work by ourselves, but we have a huge community. There's a lot of support and a lot of fun actually. And then it is the fact that I get to drive around. I see places of Bend and Redmond that, and sometimes Sisters, and once in a while Prineville or Lapine, and places I've never been to before and didn't know it existed. And it's
Well,
just fun to get out and go places and meet wonderful people.
well, good. Well, I know you've been doing this for a while, and I always wondered what are some of the misconceptions you come across with people that are having to get their stuff notarized? I know we talked about competence and all that kind of thing and the documents and that kind of stuff. But what are some of the major things that you run into?
Well, I'd say one of the first things is a lot of people just had no idea that there's such a thing as a mobile notary.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And yeah, yeah. And then they're just really pleased to have somebody come to their home, their office. I met one woman at a goat pen at the county fairgrounds. Her, her loan documents were ready and she needed to sign, but she was doing this goat beauty show. And so that's probably my most favorite is the goat pen.
Oh, man. Well, I guess
And
it's the idea that you can just be anywhere and make anything happen, and
yeah.
that's really good.
And I think as far as misconceptions, uh, people need to be educated. I usually use an intake sheet as I'm taking an appointment because there are things that people don't understand that whether or not they need a witness. They think I'm just going to come, sign, and seal, and that's it. So they don't understand about their identification. Um, they don't understand sometimes about awareness, willingness to sign.
So you've
And
got a regular checklist that you go through.
absolutely. And it doesn't matter to me if the signer is in the hospital or hospice or at home, wherever they are. Um, I go through the checklist with the caller, no matter who I'm talking to, because I want to make sure that there are no surprises when I get there, and surprises for the signers or the surprises for myself.
So is there like a fine line with, I know you work a lot with seniors and
Mhm.
folks perhaps that are in the hospital or that kind of thing. What's the line with competence? I mean, where is that? I mean, that's always been a interesting to me. It's like, how do you really know somebody's really there, so to speak?
Uh-huh. Well, I first of all, like I said, I have the intake sheet. And if somebody tells me mom or dad has, well, they've got some dementia going on and so on. So we talk about that a little bit, and I let them know that when I get there to that appointment, I'm going to have some conversation with mom or dad and see how well the conversation goes. And if they're light and cheery and talking about what's going on in the world, then I know that that's a good time of day for them,
Hmm.
and they're willing to sign, they're ready to sign. Uh, if I'm feeling like they're a little bit not quite um, aware, I have 4 or 5 questions that I ask them, and I want to know what their name is. Can they tell me where they are? Can they tell
Hmm.
me why they're there? And the people that are in the room, can they tell me who these people are? And so if they can't answer any of those one of those questions, then unfortunately I have to end the appointment. I
Well,
can't.
unless they have some kind of an authorization, right? Or would that may not be part of your requirement, I would think.
Right. And frequently what I do too, especially in a hospital or a medical setting, I will meet with the nurse, their nurse, before I even go in the room.
Ah,
I try to
yeah.
do that with every patient actually, because I want to know what their take is. I did have one woman many years ago who the nurse said, well, I think she's okay, but I'm not sure. And
Yeah,
I got in there and she was telling me about how she's the Queen of England, etc.
yeah.
So I didn't want to, the woman, I was afraid I would agitate her. So I went ahead and I let her sign the document and my journal. And I said, oh, I'm going to have to put my seal and my signature later. And I left and I spoke with the person who hired me. I spoke with the nurse again. And I said, I can't do this, obviously. So it's just a matter, really, it's a judgment call that we
Mhm.
have to make to the best of our ability. And sometimes it's tough. Sometimes it's really hard.
Because I've heard some people feel that if the person's physically there, that's good enough. I mean, that's what the purpose is. And obviously it's not,
Right.
it's the competence thing and being able to execute the documents that you want them to execute. So,
Exactly. It is a requirement if you're going to be notarizing somebody's signature. It's the requirement that they are in front of you. They have to be
mhm.
present. Um, and there are times that I've found where the signer's having a little bit of a trouble communicating, or they don't understand the question, and the family tries to answer for them. And I let the family know that I need to communicate directly with the signer.
Yeah.
And there are times that I have asked the family members to please leave the room so that I could have a private conversation and deal directly with the signer.
Well, yeah, I guess true of a lot of things.
Yeah. So,
Well, that's just it's such a big thing, and I guess mostly they're like trust documents and directives and real estate transactions and all that kind of thing. What kind of other things? You told me about the apostille, and
mhm. Could I
am I
correct
saying that
you?
right?
Apostille.
Apostille. Thank you.
It's French, and most people pronounce it apostille, but it's
Talk about what that is.
that is a service that we provide. I would be a apostille facilitator or agent. And say, for instance, if you're traveling to, say, another country, Portugal, for instance, and you want to work there or you want to live there, well, their embassy might require certain documentation. They might want to see if you're working, maybe your college diploma. They might want to see your whatever certifications, credentials you have from your college. They might want to see other documentation. And usually they'll want to see, for instance, a birth certificate.
Mm,
And if you're getting a power of attorney, for instance, one company I've dealt with, they have satellite companies around the world, and one of their CEOs needed to sign power of attorney, giving their specific people in these different countries, the attorney, the power to do certain things. And so I notarized his signature, the person here, and then I needed to, depending on the document, usually send it to the Secretary of State.
Oh,
And so the Secretary of State examines the document. For instance, if it's a birth certificate, was it signed off by the registrar? Or is it the birth certificate that we get when we're babies with the little footprint? That's not official, that's a gift, you know. So they
so
want to
it's the
make sure that
same
it's
process,
done.
basically, right?
They want to make sure that it's done properly and that they also check my records. Am I still a commissioned notary? Then what they do is they put on top of this document the actual apostille. The apostille is the document that they put on top that says they've examined this and it gives a number, tracking number, and they'll send it back to me or my client, or if my client directs me to do so, I'll send it directly on to the destination country. And go ahead.
Wow, that's I have to say I've never heard of that. I probably should have. Obviously, it's the notary thing is very common, but the apostille is something that's very unique.
Mhm.
So I would imagine the state planning documents are that's got to be one of the most common things you're signing nowadays. And
Mhm.
I've always it's one thing we always make sure that our clients have. When we're buying or selling a property, if they don't have a trust and they're kind of moving around trying to figure that out. I know besides talking to an attorney, but do you have any advice for people like that are maybe wavering and not quite wanting to go down that road? You run into that?
Absolutely. I, as a matter of fact, just had that conversation with a friend of mine last night.
Mm.
And she has some of her documentation. She has a will, but she needs to redraw it. It's old one, and it's from another state. And she was really getting upset because, and we finally, through conversation, found out that the reason why she was upset about doing her trust documents was because she felt it meant she was going to die immediately. And, reassuring her,
Interesting.
obviously, we're all going to die. And I said, let's turn that around. I said, the reason why you're doing these things is not necessarily for your benefit, but it's a benefit for your family. When you do your advance directive, this takes the pressure off of your family so that they know what your wishes are and they're not having to make those decisions for you. Your trust or your will, again, you're just taking all the pressure off of the family because they know what to expect. And if you have a safe place to keep these documents where they have easy access to these things, they don't have to go on the scavenger hunt looking for these. So it's all about the family. And then she finally said to me, that feels better.
Yeah,
Feels
what a
better.
relief. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
facing your facing your mortality is a tough thing, I can imagine,
right.
as it always is. But
Yes.
well,
Yeah.
shoot, how do you stay motivated in this whole thing? I know you have to. I mean, you're just by yourself. Do you do yoga every morning? Do you run miles, or what keeps you going other than liking what you do?
I do a little qigong in the mornings. I have some YouTube channels that I really like to follow, and that kind of gets me loosened up and ready for the day. And don't get out to do so much hiking, but hiking, if I can get a couple of days of local hiking in, I can do that. The other thing that keeps me motivated too is my notary world. Uh, we have we have the National Notary Association, but we also have various coaches that are out there. And the one coach that I've hitched my star to has an amazing group of coaches, and we call it a faculty.
Mhm.
And we get together, our particular group gets together every Sunday morning. We talk about our wins from the previous week. We talk about what do we anticipate for the coming week. We support each other. We have suggestions. We have just sometimes some people have family matters that are hard to deal with, and they're not working like they'd like to, and we're there to support them as well. And it's a family. It's a real family.
So you're state specific, right? Or is
Correct.
that, or could you be a notary in Washington if you got
Yes,
their information, yet you're still in Oregon? Can you be a notary in multiple places, I guess, multiple states?
right. I do know that, for instance, if you're near the border between Washington and Oregon,
Yeah,
that there are notaries there because they're traveling back and forth between the two, and they can get commissioned in both states.
you can do that.
And I don't know of anybody who offhand, I mean, maybe they do, maybe they're traveling from state to state, but they would have to work with the Secretary of State from both states to find out what the parameters would be for them.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Well, Lorraine, I thank you for this. This is it's always enlightening to be enlightened. It's always great to have that, and I sure appreciate your time. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you if they need your services?
Well, I have my phone, I guess I'll go ahead and give that out, is
Sure.
541-771-1937. My email is Lorraine, Lorraine, at bendmobilenotary.com.
Well, that's easy enough, and we'll
Yes,
also have that in the show notes too, along with your
great.
uh, other information as well. But
Um,
thank you.
Oh,
Thank
you're
you so
welcome.
much. It's been great to know more about that, and
Well,
people need to know these things. So,
I'd love if you ever want me back, I'd love to share more because there is a lot to it.
well,
Lot to
we
it.
can go into that deeper too, and we should
Right.
definitely do that.
I would love to. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you.